The incestuous queen who lost her mind and her kingdom. Born on December 17, 1734, in Lisbon's Ribeira Palace, Dona Maria seemed destined for a life within the formal confines of the Portuguese royal court. The eldest of 4 daughters to Dom José, the heir apparent, and his wife, Mariana Victoria, Maria received an advanced education for her era, encompassing literature, languages, classical studies, and Roman Catholic theology. Her grandfather, King John V, reigned over a kingdom that, at the time of her birth, still anticipated a male heir. However, as the 1750s drew to a close and Queen Mariana's childbearing years waned, it became increasingly clear that one of their daughters, and if she outlived her father, Maria, would ascend as Portugal's first undisputed queen regnant. As Maria entered her mid-20s, with the king and queen's hopes for a male heir fading, attention shifted to her marriage. European royals typically wed young to secure the succession, making Maria's unmarried status in the late 1750s increasingly unusual. A decision was made. Maria would marry her own uncle, Infante Dom Pedro, the king's brother. They wed on June 6, 1760, when she was 25 and he 42. While such a union seems strange today, cousin marriages were common among European royalty. In this instance, it was particularly pragmatic, as the king's brother becoming king consort upon Maria's eventual ascension would assuage any public apprehension about a female monarch. Despite the significant age gap, Maria and Pedro's marriage was a happy one, though marked by profound tragedy. Of their 7 children, 4 died in infancy, a higher than average mortality rate even for the era. Of the 3 who survived, Prince Joseph, aged 27, and Infanta Mariana, aged 20, succumbed to a smallpox outbreak within weeks of each other in late 1788 and early 1789. Consequently, only one of their 7 children, Prince John, lived a long life, eventually succeeding his mother as ruler of Portugal. On February 24, 1777, King José I died, and Maria ascended as Dona Maria I, Portugal's first undisputed queen regnant. Her husband became King Pedro, serving primarily as king consort, with Maria holding the true reins of power. Maria swiftly left her mark on Portuguese governance. Her father's 23-year reign had been dominated by his chief minister, Sebastião José de Carvalho e Melo, 1st Marquis of Pombal. Pombal, a secular politician, had sought to diminish the influence of the Roman Catholic Church and the Jesuits, implementing liberal reforms inspired by the Enlightenment. While seen as progressive today, his perceived excessive power had earned him many enemies. One of Maria's first acts as queen was to dismiss him, sending Pombal into political exile for the rest of his life. Maria, in turn, formed a new government that invigorated the role of the Roman Catholic Church. While her early reign flourished, Maria faced a severe personal crisis in the late 1780s. On May 25, 1786, her husband, King Pedro, died. Maria was devastated, and in the following months, her mental health sharply declined, marked by alternating periods of intense depression and mania. She increasingly forbade festivities at the royal court, and observers described the atmosphere around her as one of continual funeral. The situation worsened dramatically in late 1788, when her 2 surviving children, Joseph and Mariana, died from smallpox within weeks of each other. Just weeks later, her confessor, Archbishop Inácio de São Caetano, also passed away. Overwhelmed by these losses, Maria became increasingly erratic and depressive. Some research suggests her incestuous ancestry may have contributed to her mental illness, noting that 2 of her sisters had similar conditions, and her maternal grandfather, Philip V of Spain, and uncle, Ferdinand VI, also succumbed to madness late in their lives. Medical assistance was sought, including the esteemed physician Francis Willis, who had treated Britain's King George III for mental distress. However, like with George III, Willis's efforts proved ineffective. Maria's condition was not as severe as George III's, who became fully incapacitated, spending his last decade in an alternate reality. Maria's struggles were more likely severe clinical depression, triggered by the multiple tragedies of the late 1780s. Nevertheless, in 1792, the Portuguese government made the decision to effectively sideline the Queen, with her only surviving child, Prince John, assuming an increasingly significant role in governing the country, though Maria retained her title as Queen. 2 years later, in 1794, the Real Barraca de Ajuda, royal tent, burned down, forcing the court to relocate to Queluz. Maria spent most of her days confined to her apartments there. One visitor described hearing the most agonizing shrieks that inflicted on me a sensation of horror such as I had never felt before. Maria's manic episodes included screams of being damned and possessed by the devil, oscillating between violent excitement and complete catatonia. Despite the failure of Willis, she endured other treatments like bloodletting and enemas, tragically to no avail. Maria's mental decline coincided with Europe plunging into the conflicts that would rage for a quarter century following the French Revolution of 1789. The broader European conflict began impacting Portugal from 1801, when the Spanish, encouraged by the French, seized border towns. But the situation worsened significantly in 1807, when Napoleon decided to take more direct control of Spain and Portugal. In response, Prince John made the momentous decision to flee Portugal and relocate the entire royal court to Salvador de Bahia in Brazil. As they fled, the mentally ailing Maria believed she was being kidnapped and resisted boarding the ship. She was reportedly carried aboard by the fleet commander. It's claimed she spent much of the 3-month voyage screaming, terrifying the crew. By now, in her early 70s, Maria suffered from dementia in addition to her other mental illnesses. She would spend the last years of her life presiding over a Portuguese royal court in exile in Brazil. Maria died on March 20th, 1816, at the age of 81, at the Carmo convent in Rio de Janeiro. She was succeeded by her only surviving son, Prince John, who had informally ruled Portugal for many years and now officially became King John VI.